My stock pick of the week is Walter Energy WLT. This is a very good looking chart right here, especially going into next week. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. Not too hard to see. It bounced. This looks like the low back here. Let me get my kind of drawing tool where you can see the downside shape there. Okay, and then it looks like it put in a low there, at least a temporary or short-term low, maybe an all-time low, who knows. But a nice rally from the 420s all the way up to here to it hit 644. That's already a nice move, but now it's had over a month to consolidate. A little pop last week, kind of a flag, and now it just looks primed and ready to break above recent highs. Let's go to 15-minute candles and break the chart down a little further. Okay, since we don't know how the market's going to open on Monday, I can't just say, well, let's all go long if it breaks Friday's high. And part of the reason is, first of all, most people that know anything about charts, this thing has moved up pretty quickly. This whole channel right here was all day Friday. So a break of Friday's high, in my opinion, it's kind of, if you want to use the term, I don't like using the term, but kind of short-term overbought. I kind of like maybe a little bit extended, like it needs to rest or pull back in first. So, you know, a lot of it's going to depend on how the market opens, if there's weakness due to macro events or whatever, okay? But for me, this thing needs to come in a little bit. So it'll be interesting to watch and see how the volume is early on. What are some interesting areas? Obviously, a breakout, you know, up here above Friday's high, especially if we get a pullback first and you get volume coming in, that chart could play out and run to 7 or higher in one day, which is a nice percentage gain, by the way. But some other interesting areas, if the market comes in, let me draw some lines. That'd be better than the circles. All right, here's one. The 610 area, it went down a little bit below. We see it was holding that area, and that's just a rough number there. Another area that's interesting, if we pull back to this red line right here at the open on Monday, and then the market shows some strength, because that's the 20-period moving average on 15-minute candles. So that's, and also you'll notice that's a recent high from earlier, you know, the run Friday morning, topped out there, and now so a retest of that would make sense. Plus you have the 20-period moving average on 15s. And it might be up from there, so I'll be watching to see how it trades and how the market trades. So that's an interesting area. Again, I'm trying to cover the different scenarios because we don't know how the market's going to open. There's another interesting area right there. That first pullback on Friday, or actually it was probably the second pullback on Friday. I would deem that as support. So if it comes down into that area, let's turn the drawing tool off now. You know, which is around 630. And then let's pan out a little bit more now and really delve into the chart, because there are other interesting areas. Remember, this doesn't have to break out on Monday. It doesn't have to break out next week at all, and it doesn't ever have to break out. So, but it's not uncommon for something like this to be beautiful and then not break out and then come back in and then break out another week or two from now. And you say, darn it, you know, I knew that thing was going to go. And maybe you bought it on Monday and it didn't get the breakout, and then you sell it next week around 520 on Friday, and then about a week later you see it breaking out. So anything can happen. It doesn't have to go when we want it to go, okay? But some interesting areas are these lows here around I don't know, what does that look like, 525? Because we're basically in a range. It's a very clearly defined range. And then you've got this 560 area. I'm trying to give you some areas in case we don't break out on Monday. You know, in case you're looking for an entry for a swing trade, anticipating the breakout sometime in the next couple weeks, right? So the 560 area, really like this area around, 605, something like that. So those are some areas to look for. However, this really is a nice looking daily chart, and this thing might, just watch the calls. If this thing gets any traction early on, I am going to be going long around 655 with any volume coming in on Monday or any day next week. But I'd like to see, you know, at least a pullback and retest this little intraday high from Friday. So I'd like to see a pullback to this 640 area, and then maybe like a 5-minute buy setup, you know, in this area on Monday morning, and then maybe we push up and then rip. So I could go over 100 different possible scenarios. I'm just trying to give you some levels. But to recap, the most important thing is this is one handsome daily chart and just really looks primed to break out here. Also, it could just gap up on Monday morning, in which case it could gap and take off, and I'm not going to chase it. So I'll have to try to find, maybe the first pullback, something like that. But keep your eyes on WLT. And, if I had to sum up, I definitely want to get long if it gets around 655, but probably not. Like if it gaps up to that at the open, you can always grab it. You can grab it right there. It may come back in and then go, or it may gap up and fail. So anything can happen. But just control your position size if it gaps up on Monday morning to the above these recent highs, and then maybe you can add on a pullback. But again, my best case scenario would be opening around where it closed, pull back in around 640, give a 5-minute buy setup, and then go. I'd be thrilled if that happens, and I'll be taking that buy setup. So probably enough babbling there. This is definitely a chart to watch any way you slice it, guys.